just that's fundamentally going to be expensive. It's like, you just can't send things on round the world trips and expect it to be cheap. Or affordable. It's just not gonna happen. So it makes sense ultimately for rail cars of raw materials to come in one side, and then for finished vehicles to exit the other side. So, I mean, today it's sort of split up. We've got the vehicle factory in Fremont, California. We've got the battery factory here in Nevada. But I think for Gigafactory 2 and beyond, I think we're just gonna integrate that into one big facility.
And just to give you a sense of scale, I think you guys have seen the models. Hopefully, many of you have gone on tours. But to make it sort of more real, this factory is going to be about 6 million square feet of ground area when it's
completed. That's just the footprint. Yeah,
just the footprint.
It'll be the biggest building in the world, biggest single building in the world by footprint, and second only in volume to the Boeing factory in Washington State. Yeah.
It's really, really huge. And if you sort of think of something that maybe you're familiar with, like a 747, that's pretty big, right? Well, we can fit about 100 747s parked in the footprint of this building.
Yeah, and I mean, not only that, I mean, we can fit 50 billion hamsters. That's right, 50 billion. It's a lot of hamsters. So, but in terms of vehicles, we actually expect to get to 50 gigawatt hours a year of output in 2 years. To give you a sense of what that size is, total global output, I don't know the 2015 numbers, but the 2014 numbers for total global output of lithium ion for all purposes throughout the world was only about 30 gigawatt hours. Okay, so this is more than the entire planet produced in 2014. Maybe it was obviously more last year, but still, roughly this one factory will produce as much as the rest of the world combined.
Yes!
And then as we get to a couple years later, perhaps 2020 or thereabouts, we expect that when the factory is fully built out, and like I said, you're actually standing, where you are right now is the middle of the factory. You're standing in the middle of where the factory will be when it's complete. So we should have another party, I think. And so we figure when it's done, it should be able to do on the order of 1.5 million cars, and also provide a lot of power for stationary storage for battery packs, which are obviously going to be very important to pair with solar.
And all this is happening a lot faster than we even initially planned it could. With the amazing results from Model 3, we've pulled ahead that 500,000 cars by fully 2 years. So the building you see outside is almost doubling in scope, just by next year in order to build those 500,000 Model 3s per year.
So, yeah, it's super exciting. I actually really love manufacturing. It's great. It's like most people should get into it. All right, and then part 2 of the master plan. I'm not sure if people got not many people got the Hot Shots part, I know, but people saw that movie, but it's kind of great. It's top secret. So really, there's 4 parts to it, which is to make beautiful solar combined with battery storage, to expand to all of the major vehicle segments in order to, as quickly as possible, move us away from oil. Get to a self-driving capability that's about 10 times better than the average driver. So that's a lot of lives saved. So 1.2 million people die a year in auto accidents. So that's a lot of potential for lives saved there. And then the ability to add your car to a shared fleet whenever you want. So whenever you're not using your car, you'll be able to just tap the Tesla app on your phone and add it or subtract it to the shared fleet. And you'll be able to define, like, well, you know, who can use it, like only 5-star users or anyone or only family or whatever. And then whenever you want it back, you can just tap it and it will return to you. So most of the time when you look at cars, they're sitting in a parking lot somewhere and they're not being used, and this has the potential to massively amplify the utility of vehicles and offset the cost of ownership. And it'll be totally up to you when you want to do it or not do it. It's all yours.
Will it find Pokemon for us?
It will find Pokemon for you. Absolutely. Of course.
And as we said earlier, a lot of people really doubted that there would be enough demand to even make a factory like this make sense in this time frame. We started this way before the Model 3 launch event, before we had all those reservations, and I think it's really a tribute to all of you guys as customers that are making this possible. So yeah, really thank all of you for doing this.
So yeah. So I mean that's basically the overview of the Gigafactory and what we're up to. I don't know. We could like maybe take a few questions from the audience. Sure. Like yeah.
How many people work in the factory?
Right now right now we have about 1,000 people working on site. With the expansion to 150 gigawatt hours, we expect there will be some sort of efficiency that's gained, but it's still probably on the order of 10,000 people working on that. Yeah.
All the power walls and power packs that we're sending out are built right here today, so that's operational in the building behind you.
Sorry? Oh yeah, so recycling, good point, I should have mentioned. So we've actually, we'll have recycling at the Gigafactory itself. So all battery packs will be recycled, which actually makes a lot of sense because this is a real efficient way to recycle it because we know what the module looks like. So we can actually design the recycling machines that are exactly optimized for the battery pack because we're not trying to recycle any arbitrary battery pack, we're recycling a known battery pack. So we can be really precise about the recycling.
And recycling is really awesome because most people don't think about this, but a lithium battery, when we build it, and even if after you use it for 15 or 20 years, at the end of that time, all of the materials that we built into the battery are still in there. None of them have been dispersed into the environment. We didn't burn any of them. All the metals, all of the interesting materials are still there. And today, when we make a new battery, materials are the most expensive part of that whole process. So if we can get that same batch of materials back into the factory, for almost no cost, the cost of transporting it there, it's a chance to reduce the whole materials budget on that new cell massively. So that's kind of what the future holds for recycling.
And I should mention also that when the Gigafactory is fully operational, it will be also completely operated on sustainable energy. So we're using geothermal energy, or geothermal for climate control, and then wind, which obviously has to be brought in from other places, and then solar on the roof. And the combination of the wind, geothermal, and solar will completely power the Gigafactory. Yeah, so the question is like, what about putting plants in other parts of the world? It's definitely going to make sense to have at least a Gigafactory in every continent. because otherwise the logistics cost and the energy taken to transport cars halfway around the world is quite high. So we'll kind of reach saturation here, and then we're going to establish a factory in Europe and a factory in Asia, well, in China and perhaps in other parts of Asia as well. So, so I think it's going to make a lot of sense to localize the production to the demand. Sure, in the back there.
What percentage of the output would be for autos versus solar backup storage?
Yeah, so what percentage of the output is likely to be for cars versus for stationary storage batteries? In the beginning, I think it's probably going to be on the order of like roughly a third stationary storage, something like that, call it 30-35%. But over time, I think probably they will roughly equalize. There'll be roughly about as much, as many batteries for stationary storage as there are for cars. And if you do this sort of really overarching math of like what's needed at a very high level to transition the world to a sustainable energy scenario, that about works out. You need about as much battery capacity in cars as you do in stationary storage. I'd encourage people to look at the NREL numbers and some of the
Update on Model 3.